Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm Angela, and today I have the pleasure of welcoming an extraordinary guest whose story reminds us that even in the deepest seasons of loss, creativity can become a powerful pathway to healing. Nikki Borger is an international writer, an actor and a producer whose life took an unexpected turn in 2018 to pursue a career in acting. Instead of stepping into the future she had imagined, she experienced an unimaginable heartbreak, losing her parents and grandparents over the course of 7.5 years through a series of tragic circumstances. But rather than allowing grief to define her, Nikki chose to explore it, to sit with it, and ultimately to transform it into art. And that journey gave birth to her remarkable collection. In between, 8 gender neutral one act plays between life and death. Set in the liminal space between life and death, these interconnected plays explore some of life's most difficult realities and with honesty, compassion, and even moments of humor. They also embrace inclusive casting, making them accessible to people of every age, gender, and ethnicity. Nikki is also known for her award-winning short films, Because I Could and a portrayal of subtle suicide, as well as her personal transformation show, Unlimit Yourself. Through her work, she continues to encourage others to find meaning, resilience, and hope in the midst of life's greatest challenges. And so today, we'll explore her remarkable journey through grief, the healing power of story, and how creativity can help us navigate the spaces between loss and new beginnings. So, welcome to the podcast, Nikki.
Hi, and thank you so much for having me, Angela, and thank you for this beautiful introduction.
Yeah, well, it's amazing. Your story is amazing, and I'm so excited to share it with others because I think it gives hope and inspiration where it's very much needed.
I
And
sure
so,
hope so.
yeah, I know it will. So I wanted to start with when you moved to the United States, you pursued this career in acting, and instead you found yourself facing these unimaginable losses. And looking back, how did those experiences shape your life, but also your purpose?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, to give this some context, I came to the US in September of 2018. I had already worked in musical theater acting and I wanted to transition to film. And then in May 2019, my stepdad got sick with pancreatic cancer.
Mhm.
Even though they couldn't immediately find out what was happening, it took a while. And the week after he survived an emergency surgery for that pancreatic cancer, my mom had a heart attack while driving and died.
Oh my
And
goodness.
she was like the center point of my life. She was my
Mhm.
everything, and it just came out of nowhere, right? Um, about 6 weeks after that, my one granddad died. Then it was 2020, the pandemic hit. And as my stepdad was going through chemo for cancer, I couldn't fly back, so I was stuck in the US and had to, deal with everything and no work as an actor. Um, then in 2022, his cancer came back and went and nursed him through the last stages until he
Mhm.
passed away. I then had to dissolve the entire family household, give away everything I own in Germany, while I, at that time, did not have stable housing in the US.
Mhm.
Then we went right into the strikes in Hollywood, and again, nobody working. My other granddad passed away, then my mother in law's cancer came back. She passed away, and so to say, mother in law, she kind of was at that time. And then my and right after that, my father, my biological father, got very, very sick, whom I cared for the last 3.5 years until he passed away earlier this year.
Mm.
So it was just one thing right after the other. And not just, the amount of personal loss, but also the loss of a safety net, the
Yeah.
loss of my roots, where I was coming from. The It felt like the ground was pulled from beneath my feet again and again and again, with these the accumulation of things, losing the family, but then also the strikes, a visa situation, getting a visa to stay in the US, the pandemic, Hollywood, which has been changing like crazy since
Mm.
I've come here. And so all of that was just so much more than I thought I would have to handle in an entire lifetime.
Yeah. Wow.
Um,
Yeah. And you talk about, well, always say it's the rug, but, being pulled out from you multiple times. And, I can just feel that lack of feeling of safety, just being, uh, I would be so much in fear every day that something
totally,
else is going to happen.
totally, and that doesn't go away, right?
Mm.
Especially with these phone calls. Here's the thing: Germany is 9 hours ahead of the
Right.
U.S., right? So I would get the news upon waking up. Upon waking up, I would have a message on my phone that says, "Call me back right now."
Oh,
And that has happened 8 or 10 times in those 8 years. And it was always like really, really devastating. So I'm still struggling, to get over that, and it has a severe toll on the body and the entire well-being, right? The health
yes.
issues that come from that, the constant panic, that anything can happen, the lack of capacity to do anything else and actually enjoy beautiful things, because you're terrified that if you enjoy them too much, they will be taken away again.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that comes with that, and the main reason I'm sharing this now is for others who are going through this, to show them that you're not the only one. You know, life can get a lot harder even than the movies.
Mm.
Um, to a point where most other people probably can't handle it, and most likely a lot of your friends in your network are pulling away,
Yeah.
because people don't have the capacity to deal with that level of hardship.
Yeah. Yeah. And that happens a lot um, when I talk to people in grief. Relationships change very quickly, and it's really hard to understand why. Um, but yeah, and so that adds to the fear. It adds to the feeling of being unsafe.
Totally, and it feels so personal, right? Like
Hmm.
especially when you're a strong person that already struggles with asking for help, and then you feel like you do and people don't respond.
Yeah.
um, it feels so personal, though it is not, right?
Right.
It's their lack of capacity.
Hmm.
um, but it really hurts, and that has been very challenging for me throughout this as well. I lost multiple, like, entire groups of friendships throughout this process because of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what what made you start to see a way forward? Like what helped you start to do this creativity thing? What led you to all of it?
That's a great question. Um, what really helped me forward was finding the balance between, like, stabilizing my real life, my physical outside life, and I always say, like, treat myself like a houseplant: water, sunlight, food, fresh
Mm.
air, movement, right, rest. But then also do the inner work And for me, that was a lot of sitting with my emotions and being okay with whatever was coming up. And there's so much more coming up when you're grieving. It's not just sadness, there's so much more in that. And I had to give myself the space to sit with that. And along with that, a lot of questions arose of like, why did this happen? Or will that have an impact on me, right? My mom was 61 when she passed away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now 38. I am unmarried. I don't have kids, and not by choice. And I was wondering, what if my life ends at 61 as well? Like, have I
Mm-hmm.
missed everything? Like, can I even if I were to find a partner now, could I even put this on? Like, taking the risk that if I pass away at 61 from a heart attack as well, um, what will happen to those kids, right? And that's very far spun. It's a very
Mm-hmm.
far away question, but it's
Mm-hmm.
the stuff that starts going on in your mind. And then also, and this is a tough one to talk about that I love talking about without judgment. There's always a little bit, a tiny bit of relief and release happening when somebody passes, because no relationship is perfect,
Mm-hmm.
right? So for me, the fact that my parents were gone meant that I did not have to live up to their expectations or standards anymore, some of which I just didn't agree with. So, in that process of thinking about all these things and sitting with that, um, as a storyteller, the question arose, what is the framework here? What is the actual story? Or which story is the one that I would choose to tell? Because how you frame it defines everything on how you deal with it after.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sure you will agree to this, right? You can
Oh, yes.
define yourself as the victim and the all the horrors that have happened to you, but this is not going to give you any power in the future to deal with it properly. So I started searching for the stories, the arcs, the hero journeys, so to say, that made this entire experience more bearable.
Hmm. That's so interesting. And I think that that is key in the healing, is that shift from the victim mentality, we'll call it, everything's happening to me, um, versus what can I control?
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like you somehow came to that realization, and then these beautiful works of art come out of that. Um, let's talk about in between. Tell me a little bit more about this, how this represented you, or this space represented you personally.
Thank you for that question. I I care about these stories a lot because so it's 8 short plays, right? It's
Mm,
basically 8 conversations, and the world these conversations take place in, and the rules of the world, so to say, the laws life functions by, are things that I came to realize in this process of grieving. Big one, you already said, right? You can frame yourself as the victim, but it will never give you the power to change anything. So whether it's true or not doesn't matter because it's not beneficial to you. And truth in these things is so subjective. Like,
mhm.
nobody knows what will happen after we die. Nobody does, right? So I learned to find truths for myself that made me feel comfortable and gave me peace of mind and gave me some power back over my own life and my well being. And those are the truths that I put into stories that felt relatable. For example, the very first story in the book, how it opens, is called The Invention of Death. And most stories display death as this horrible thing that happens to everybody, the worst thing that can happen to everybody, a dark hooded figure with a sickle that comes and destroys you or takes you to hell in the most horrible ways. And that's not a beneficial way to look at it, whether it's true or not, because everybody will die. There's not a single person on this planet that will not die, right?
Mm.
So it will happen. So I decided to write a story that represents my view a lot better, which is we have a divine creator and a divine creatress, so to say, like a male and a female energy. And they're having a parent's argument because they're making a lot of love. So they have a lot of children and they can't handle them all. And it's just too much going on. So mama says, well, we're not doing this anymore. But daddy says, wait, what? Like, no more lovemaking? That can't be. So they design this experience, these vessels, these human bodies that they can put their children, their little souls into, to get a break and have more time for themselves. But the mom obviously is like, well, but what if something happens? What if they're all alone? Because dad, invents, he says, there's space, so they're not all in the same point, and there's time, so not everything happens at the same moment. And she's all worried that they're gonna, be alone and feel pain and have horrible experiences. So she wants a way out. She wants a way for them to come home. And that is the compromise they make. And they figure out that they can't do it themselves. They don't want to kill those vessels, right? So that they invent a bunch of ways, natural ways in the world that these bodies are entering that will eventually make them come home so they're whole and happy and okay again, no matter what happens. That is the first story in the book. And that to me is such an important reframe of how life works. It's, whether it's true or not, it is what gives me peace of mind that this is what it could be like.
And I love that because it's an invitation for all of us to be able to create a truth. And I always tell people, what's true for one person may not be true for another, but it's okay.
Yeah.
And I love how you've reframed that for yourself and brought yourself that comfort. And I think a lot of us have, different ideas of what happens or how we got here or, why this all is the way it is. And I think grief does that. It makes you explore that. You really have no choice.
Yeah.
It's like it forces you to really look at what you believe and figure out what is true for you. So that's beautiful. And I love that you've shared that with people in this way. I think it's amazing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for saying that as well. That's exactly what my experience was. And so these 8 stories, they all tackle a piece of these questions, so to say.
Okay.
And they're gender neutral and inclusive because it allows for the reader to project more of their own experience onto it. Plus, I just like these stories are universal. There's no, sociological, historical context to be accurate to. So I don't see the point why to put any restrictions on characters, but that's my point of view. It's not, I'm not dictating this is what you have to believe or this is how life is.
Right.
I'm just inviting to take a different perspective. And I care about, there's another story I feel really called to just mention very briefly. It's called Joey and Jace, and it's twin siblings just before they're being born. And the characters appear in stories earlier on, so we already know them. And they've always wanted that because they were best friends their entire lives. They always wanted to be brothers. So now they're in this womb together, waking up, they're realizing what is about to happen, that they're about to be born, and they will be brothers for this life. And they're so excited. But then it turns out, for various reasons, that maybe only one of them can be born.
Mm.
And it becomes this argument of like, well, I'm not gonna let you die, and I'm not gonna take your life from you, right? One versus another. And they end up fighting over it, which is shown by the mom having very severe contractions and complications. So it happens simultaneously. And they end up both being born, and the one brother that was not supposed to be born being born disabled. But the conversation after that makes it perfectly clear that he will still have a fully complete life and a happy life, and it's all okay. So there's so much in there, like the questions of love and purpose, where we have assumptions that, for example, that a disabled life can't be a full life,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is an assumption that non-disabled people have, right?
Right.
Which may not be true because we can't know what the soul is actually looking for. So, anyways, these are the stories and the themes that I really care about since I've gone through this process, and that I really wanted to share with people because I think there's great comfort in that.
Yeah. And even though your plays all explore grief and loss, they they also contain humor and
Mm-hmm.
lightness. And I'm interested with this because, there is a fine line you walk, uh, being humorous around people in grief. And so this would take a lot of talent to be able to bring this in.
Yeah, thank you. It's that is not easy. It's very delicate, as you say,
Mhm.
but it matters so much. It
Yeah.
matters so much because when you're really honest to yourself, there's almost no situation ever that's completely black and white. Um, there are, especially when you're grieving, especially in this whole process when you're losing someone, there's a lot of situations that are awkward,
Hmm.
really, and uh, they may not seem funny at all in that moment, but they are awkward. So there's that feeling coming in. It's a bit of a darker story, but for example, after my stepdad passed away, he passed away at midnight, and they told us, well, they're not going to send an ambulance for this or anything because it's not urgent. We should, they want to keep the doctors free for actual emergencies. So we should call back in the morning. And we did. And then they refused to come. And then the actual doctor in charge refused to come.
Oh,
So we were sitting, like it was 6 people of us in that kitchen living room trying to figure out what to do, right? And
wow.
that is a horrible situation when you're going through, but there's also these 5% of absurdity, right? These
Yeah.
5% where you're like, I worried about everything else, and now this? Like,
Yeah.
now this is happening? And so what I like to do with the story is there's a little bit of a absurdity like that in there, but mostly there's levity through character traits.
Mm.
Like one of the angels actually sounds much more like a rock star than anything else,
Okay.
and the other angel sounds a lot more like a bureaucrat, like a um, she's a very specific tone, like, hello, I'm here and I'm ready to help you out today. Let's do your quarter life checkup, right? So there's by using tone or character traits, the male god in the beginning, right, in that the invention of death in the very first play, he's very horny, for example, and that's what drives all of this, right?
Right.
So
Right.
these little moments that are very relatable that give it a levity.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is so important. It's so important because it is there. You just can't see it most of the time. You will probably see it in hindsight, like a year later. But
Hmm.
because they're stories, I can put that in now, and that makes it so much easier to read and actually, entertaining and not just not just pulling you down.
Right. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. So, creating these plays helped you transform your own grief into something meaningful. So, for people who are listening and thinking about going into some kind of creative process of their own, maybe not making plays, but any kind of creative process, I always say cooking or anything can be creative, right? What did this creative process teach you about healing that maybe you didn't know before?
I think what it taught me more than anything else is to be okay with everything I think and feel,
Mm,
and to not be judgmental towards myself in this process, like at all. And because there's so much more coming up. And with grief, if you lose someone you were really, really close with, it'll keep coming up for years,
hmm
right? You will circle back for years, possibly your entire life. Things will keep coming up. When you look at lineage, right? If you look at
hmm
things that were passed down from your mother to you and so on, right? It will keep coming up. And the less judgmental you are towards whatever comes up, the more truthful you can be with yourself, the easier it will be to become okay with things. And the more sense it will make, and the more peace and calm you will find.
mm,
Despite everything I've been through, I firmly, firmly believe that life is good.
hmm
Life is good. It may not be good in the moment. It has horrible times in it. It often has more horrors in it than we ever thought were possible. But it is good in the end. And doing this work, allowing yourself to process, as you said, whatever that looks like, any form of creativity is great. Um, the more you will be able to move through it.
hmm Yeah, so true. And if someone listening today is in the midst of their own profound loss, and they likely are if they're listening to this podcast, and wondering if life will ever feel meaning again or meaningful again, it feels to me like you're telling them yes. And what message of hope would you want to leave them with?
Hmm. Here's what I want you to hear, and I want you to hear this in the bottom of your heart and every particle of your being. Whatever you believe in, whether it's God, Source, the universe, or nothing at all, it would not have put you through this if it didn't trust that you could make it. So,
Mhm.
whatever things will feel like, whatever they feel like right now, whatever you're going through, there will be a time where things get better. There will be a light at the end of this tunnel. You will come out of this. Things will start to make sense. You will feel like yourself again. You will find new strength within you that you didn't know existed. You will not only recover from this, but you will become a beacon of light to anybody else in your life who will go through this at some point, and everybody will. And you will be able to share your strength with them in ways you never thought was possible. You may feel right now like you're the one that's being beaten down, that life is harder on you, that life just wants you to be down in the dirt and feel like crap, but that's not it. Life is preparing you to become the strongest, brightest, and best version of yourself that you could have ever imagined, and you are on your way to that right now. Trust that process. You will make it through. Allow yourself to be. Don't judge, but allow yourself to become and to heal and find your light and your uniqueness again, and you will.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. I know a lot of people are going to find a lot of comfort and hope in those words. Um, how do people reach out to you or find you?
The easiest way to find me is on Instagram or Facebook. My name is Nikki J. Borger, Nikki just with one K. And I share a lot of my work on there. I also have a webpage under that same name. But yeah, Instagram is mostly where I share what I do and what I'm doing. And you can find my book pretty much anywhere. Easiest is Amazon, obviously. It's called In Between, a gender neutral one act plays between life and death.
Okay, amazing. And we'll make sure we have those links underneath the podcast. Um, Anything else you wanted to share before we wrap up? Anything that we haven't talked about yet?
No, I'm so glad you gave me this opportunity to share this and to talk about it. And I love sending that hope to people. I
Hmm.
love saying that. I care about it so much. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity and having me today. And thank you for everybody listening and, taking the time to help yourself by,
Hmm.
listening to podcasts like this and doing the work.
Thank you so much. And yes, thanks everyone for listening. And bye for now.